Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to today's session on a live talk forum under the hashtag Disruptive Movement, which is an initiative of the Global Education and Training Institute under the mentorship and guidance of Dr. Sunita Gandhi, a pioneer in the field with a grand vision of transforming education to facilitate the teaching learning process through transformation in the education system. Myself, Joya Khan, your host for the evening, as Ambassador of Change from GETI, a name to reckon with, where excellence is a continuous process and not an accident, where the things you do for yourself are gone, but the things you do for others become your legacy. Dear viewers, I feel happy to share that we at GETI are committed to enhancing professional trainings, teachers' trainings, innovations, strategizing, polishing, and implementing to facilitate learning, teaching, and sharing of wonderful ideas with practice and present endeavors to break the shackles of the old and bring in the new, moving ahead with a goal oriented approach leading to positive outcomes. Getty is committed to transforming education. This is loud and clear. It is evolving at a lightning speed, asking for more inquisitive, flexible, engaging, and proactive education leaders to share their thoughts. And the best way to make sure and to enhance and understand what you are learning is to teach and share. Getty is deeply involved in providing training for teachers for in-service and pre-service so that we can boast of an innovative, engaging, interesting, and expedient program. Taking this idea further ahead and coming to the context of this live session today, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Froilan with his topic Emerging Technologies in Research and Education. A little briefing about Dr. Froilan. He has an illustrious career ahead of him. He has been employed as an international human rights advocate for International Journal of Multidisciplinary Applied Business and Education. He has also been in the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. He has been in the College of Subic Montessori as professor. He has been in the International Journal on Emerging Engineering Technologies. He also has publications and conference papers to his credit. The important ones as the role of emerging trends in education, conquering the stormy seas of pandemic. He has also to his credit the culture of education amidst the pandemic, the community development program of the international human rights movement in Philippines. He has also got the development of an online database for historical archiving of primary sources, the vital role of Internet of Things almost amidst COVID-19. He also has international book publications to his credit. He has also received a number of awards, the important ones being International Best Researcher Award in 2021, EDUCAUSE Global Award in 2021, Luminary Excellency in Education and Research Awards in 2021. The list, my dear viewers, is endless as I have a long list before me about his credentials. So, without wasting much time, I would like to hand over the show to Dr. Froilan. So, a very, very warm welcome to you on the live forum of Getty for the detox, and the show is all yours. Thank you so much
Uh,
for being with us here this evening.
yeah, good
Over
evening.
to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So, Good evening from the Republic of the Philippines, Mobo. So this is Dr. Froilan D. Mobo. So is it does my presentation is now visible, ma'am? So uh, so wait lang. Okay. So my task for tonight is to discuss about the emerging trends or technology and research and education. So, as you all know, when we say emerging trends or technology, it is defined as those technology which is really present as new and significant developments within the field of any area as long as it is involves IT or medicine. So it can also be part of that. So the purpose of the information on the following, no, this is to help, of course, during the planning cycle. That's take into account that emerging technologies that are, of course, one new, which is available now, available in the future, and also are still developing. For example, in terms of in research, we and also in education, we can combine emerging trends in technology because, for example, no, in the case of our institutions, the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, we are now using part of this platform in this way. For example, we are using the virtual reality and augmented reality in delivering quality education amidst the pandemic. So, emerging trends in technology really plays a vital role, especially in this time of pandemic. We need to adapt this technology not only in education but also in the field of research. And then, so education trends in 2020 as of the present really emerge because these things, for example, we're using virtual reality, augmented reality plays a vital role. Okay, because there are a lot of schools that offering programs, for example, in the uh, program in the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science or either IT related that uses this type of technology, and it plays really a big factor because it also involves research and development in terms of using this emerging technology. So it really plays a vital role, especially in this time of pandemic. Okay, and of course, part of the research it also involves because, as you all know, the research and education combined together as one, and we can do a continuous research about the emerging trends. We can combine things that we can do. For example, we can use applications, we can use gadgets as part of the research and development. So we can do a lots of productive research that can be used in other areas, not only in the ICT, but also in other sector. For example, in medicine, let's say in engineering, and other things. Then you can do those things as part of a collaborative research that can be shared. So just like what I've shown to you on your my screen, we have the following applications or websites that can be used. For example, you can download your research in a platform in a Google Scholar platform wherein you can access that to any devices which is connected on the internet, which is part of the emerging trends because before we cannot use this as part of our research and development and part of our educational technology platform. But because of the emerging trends, we we can do this as part of our development. Okay, so we can do research, we can Google that in the Google Scholar, we can search references, we can cite using any platform as long you have the internet connectivity, and you can do a lot of research. That's why I consider research as part of the emerging trends because we can develop more than that. Okay, then in the today's development, technologies plays a vital role because technology today is everywhere. We can download it in any platform, in our cell phone, for example, in our mobile applications, in our tablet, in our laptops. We can use technology platform in terms of using that on the part of delivering quality education and using those educational technology platforms or even doing a research just like what I mentioned. Okay, for example, you can use smart technologies or artificial intelligence as part of these things, or you can also use augmented reality by doing research. Maybe uh, 10 years from now, we can do advancement in research, okay? In terms of using these emerging technologies, just like what I have noticed in, for example, in the shipping industries, they are now moving on the autonomous part of maneuvering a vessel. So it's part of emerging trends, not only in the education, but also in the research and development. And of course, you can also use graphical information system as part of in the educational sector or capturing research in this part of this. Okay, so these things, this technology also plays a vital role in term amidst the pandemic. Then, so we have that. Okay, for example, you can use augmented reality, the virtual reality, by viewing a particular area and simulating a particular scene, a scenario, and doing a deeper core part of the research, for example, in the field of medicine or other allied areas. So, of course, it also includes the voice over IP because this is a technology that allows you to make, of course, a voice call using the internet. So, because right now, these things, it really benefits us. For example, just like what we are doing right now, I'm doing my presentations on live streaming. So, by using these technology platforms and developing these things as part of future emerging technologies, as part of the research, we can then develop more than that. Okay? So on the horizon, technologies that are new and will be part of this technology platform really plays a vital role. Okay, not only in the for the students but also for other sectoral areas because it can benefit. Okay, that's why the role of the ICT in this situation right now amidst the pandemic plays a vital role. So hopefully this one can help our economy boost up. Okay. And then, of course, part of that, we have the virtual networking, which is a technology that facilitates data communications between two or more virtual machines, which is also, you can also do a lot of researches about this thing. And maybe this one can help us also by doing collaborative research with an output. And part of this, we can use also this as part of our education. Okay, so these things really plays a vital role as of this day. And of course, cloud computing, because just like what I mentioned, for example, using the Google applications now, so everything can be stored now on cloud. Okay, so we can use other applications or developmental way. Okay, for example, you can do a lot of research. You can download it from a cloud-based application, for example, from a Google Scholar. So all your references can be downloaded using a cloud applications in other platforms or advanced platform that can emerge as part of the growing industry and sectoral areas, especially in the ICT sector, but also in other sectoral areas that might help. Okay, that's why for me, emerging trends amidst the pandemic, especially in the area of research and education, also it will really benefit the students and also and also the community. So as you see on my screen, this cloud computing is, we have of course the platform, the application, the infrastructure. So maybe this one will help us to boost up our economy because you know, for example, in the Philippines we have now a law on the part of the work at home. So maybe those emerging technologies now can be done in using, for example, for business and now also for in terms of continuing education. So most likely, part of that soon it will be it will be strengthened. It can be do some advanced applications that can help, okay, to do a continuous research on this type of technology. Also Web 2.0, no? It refers to the website that emphasizes user generated. Of course, these things plays a vital role because It is a technological based platform that can be used. Okay, for example, in cloud based application or emerging trends, because now right now everything is can be download, can be a web based application that can be used, for example, in your mobile applications, in your tablet, in your laptop. Okay, for example, if you want to do research about an educational technology platform, we can use web this platform. So the future of data, emerging technologies in research focuses started on the cloud application. That's why I always mention that a good example of emerging trends in technology that plays a vital role in education and research. Of course, a good example is we have the Google applications, because everything is there. You can access the application. For example, we have the Google Docs. We can upload our files from the Google Drive. Of course, we can also use a Google Meet and other applications, and we can also use Google Scholar as part of the technological transformation in helping our scholars and other students. Okay, so it really plays a vital role. And of course, so last 2018 will be remembered as landmark year in the history of the data economy, because it marked a dramatic increase of consumer awareness regarding this platform. Okay, and then the cloud grows up because in the global survey of 200 business and technology executives, for example, in this pandemic, most businesses right now preferred to do a remote business applications or a remote education way, because those things are already embedded as part of their law. For example, in the Philippines, I think they will already online classes or those programs which is run by emerging technologies will be part of the regular program. Okay, and including the research. And then examples of the emerging educational technologies, for example, these are examples of emerging technology that are very common use today, because far off in the future of technology, in fact, many of them are still emerging years after their initial emergence, as it is the case of technologies like robotics, for example, artificial intelligence, for example, just like what I mentioned, maybe 3 years from now or more, 5 years from now, for example, in other sectoral areas, for example, we can have an autonomous shipping vessel that can be run by a single person. Okay, something like that. Okay, or other things that can be incorporated with this type of technology. So it is being said that it will continue to radically reshape, no, themselves and other continuing. That's why we call this emerging, because we can emerge this in other areas, for example, in the field of research and education. That's why example of this educational technologies in emerging, we have, of course, just like what I mentioned a while ago, we have augmented reality, the virtual reality, wherein you can simulate, okay, everything. For example, you can use this simulation in terms of the healthcare courses that is being done in a regular program. We have the 3D printing, and of course, in the role of the artificial intelligence and robotics. Then, of course, adaptive learning algorithms, which can be done, okay, for advancement of learning in this field. Also, asynchronous learning and micro-learning can be done as part of an online platform and other learning management system. And of course, live streaming. That's what just like what we are using right now. So we can host a conference or an online education or a remote teaching and learning, for example, via Zoom or other platform that can be done using this platform as part of the emerging trends in education and of course in research. As you see, during the pandemic, uh, a lot of research uh, group or organization uh, hold conferences using virtual platform. For example, they are using Zoom or this platform that we're using, no, as part of a continuous evolvement of this technology. That's why we call the thing as part of the emerging thing. Of course, artificial intelligence is there, the social learning, obviously closely to the asynchronous part of the learning platform. Of course, learning game is there, and simulation, because all of things can be done. We can simulate that in a real scenario. For example, we can simulate maneuvering a vessel, or doing a healthcare services as part of the laboratory in an that can be involved in the educational side. So educational technology trends in 2021. So we have the big data, machine learning, and of course the Internet of Things, where the biggest is educational technology trends of that during that year. However, distance learning has become the one trend that rules them all, because the COVID-19 pandemic has drastically changed the way we teach and learn. So students uh, as of today are using this platform, okay? And then often one of the biggest barriers to incorporating emerging technology in the classroom is the fear in using technologies. That's why my challenge to all teachers right now, or educators and researchers, is to be acquainted with this type of platform. Okay? So my final word is, do a continuous extensive research and learning in the field of emerging technologies. And of course, we can also this in doing a collaborative research. So I think that would be all for tonight. So to the organizing team or group for holding this event, thank you once again for inviting me. So God bless you all and stay safe and good evening and mabuhay once again. So that would be all. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Froilan, for that very, very engaging session. In your session, you spoke about educational trends in 2020. You spoke about technology that is available today. You also mentioned geographic information systems, data sources, data layers, street data, buildings, vegetation, integrated voiceover. You also mentioned virtual networking, cloud computing, application, platform infrastructure, the future of data, and also examples of emerging technologies. You also included asynchronous learning and micro learning, live streaming and school to expert, and remote teaching and learning via Zoom, etc. All very, very important points in the present scenario. We all know that technology and digital tools are especially helpful when the educational institutions are spread in the remote, inaccessible areas, where education in its raw form is the only academic introduction to the children and helps in polishing the students. While many people may attribute technology to be the culprit in isolating people and making them well less human, but the tables I think can be turned when we can leverage technology to be an omnipresent ally that can improve social and psychological paradigms of the human mind. I think you will agree with me, sir. And technology and digital tools are especially helpful when the educational institutions, as I said earlier also, are spread out in the remote, inaccessible areas. When education in its raw form is the only academic introduction to the children. And I think during the pandemic, technology proved to be a real boon for all the educators, for all the teachers, and also for the parents, anxious parents at home. So, sir, you included most of the vital points. We'll be very happy if you can take a few questions, sir, and give your views upon them. So, my first question to you, sir, is what do you think is the impact of computer literacy instruction in our schools today, all around, all over the world?
Well, the computer literacy or ICT plays a vital role because if we are not literate to use those technology, maybe there will be a fear to face using those technology platform. For example, using the learning management system or the augmented reality or virtual reality. So part of that to uh, to be prepared. For example, just like what we are experiencing right now, it's a pandemic. I think we should be ICT be ready. We should be literate enough. For example, we need to be acquainted in terms of using the the internet, or using other technology platforms. So, for example, we need to be uh, literate enough to use applications that can be downloaded or uploaded. So, those things really helps us engaging in this type of platform. That's why I advise all my colleagues in the academy that we should be we should not stop. So we need to continue. For example, in doing research, we still need to continue because there's a platform, and I think it's really doable in doing this thing. So we need to do a continuous learning in terms of the ICT related matters, and it also plays a vital role in this time of pandemic. Just like what we are doing right now, we are holding a virtual conference. So even I'm in the Philippines, and other listeners are in the around the globe. So these things proves that it really technology plays a vital role. So those things, it's really important.
Now, another question to you, sir, is the different challenges that are faced globally with the emergence of technologies. What are the global challenges that means all the countries I'm talking about, we are all using technology? And what do you think are the common challenges that we all are faced with?
The common challenge that we are facing right now, I think, is the internet problems. For example, in the rural areas, those are the common problems that we are facing, and other students are experiencing. So I think in terms of that, I think the government can address that. For example, by developing an advanced infrastructure for the internet. So I think they need to address those issues so that we can proceed and do this advancement of technology in the emerges, because internet plays a vital role, especially if we are talking about the emerging of technologies, especially in education and research. So I think they should develop and do an extensive study about how they will be able to solve those issues, particularly in those areas that is not accessible using the internet platform. I think the government should do these things. Okay, they should do plans and programs so that these problems will be solved immediately.
Thank you, sir. Another question that would need your attention is that we all know that our schools were a little apprehensive in adopting to this change of emerging technologies, more so during the time of pandemic, right, sir? So what are the challenges that the schools have experienced when integrating technology in teaching and learning process, and how do you think have they been able to meet those challenges, the progress level? What are the main challenges and the progress levels?
I think in terms of the main problem that they are experiencing is the readiness. For example, the online readiness of the students and faculty in using the learning management system. Because I think majority of the students and teachers, for example, in the Philippines, they are not prepared using this technology platform. So what uh, institutions and government agencies did during this time of pandemic is part by part they have a continuous learning and webinars regarding on how to use e-learning as part of the emergence, and it should be a continuous part of the orientation, of course, in the school. And then part of that, I think they should be prepared now to be ICT enabled, because as I knew, this will be part of the regular program now, especially in the educational sector and of course in the business. So I think part of the business and educational sector is it should be IT enabled already, so that once, hoping that this will not happen again, that for example if there's a situation again that will occur, so definitely we are now prepared. And another thing, I think it's the budgetary constraint that most of the institutional educational institutions are facing right now, because of those things that they are not really prepared, because they are considering of course the facilities and of course the applications that they need to use to use these emerging technologies. That's why the main problem in the Philippines, for example, in the basic education, they're using a modular approach. But I think part of that, uh, the government also is instituting a way to solve this, for example, by giving laptops in the basic education program, especially in the government side. I think the government can help these things, especially on the government institutions, basically in the basic education level, so that the continuous progress using the emerging trends will be a continuous process. I think it will be more productive if they will do that. And I think that is doable.
Thank you, sir. With this, like in the field of education, I would especially like to refer that technology is playing a very vital role, and the whole dynamics of the education system has seen a very, very big change. But then, don't you think that initially the people were not ready to equip themselves with trainings, because everybody is not that tech savvy? As you mentioned in your presentation, also, the different hurdles, people are not very well equipped with handling of technology. So, what is your take on that?
I think part of that because of the generation problem, because I think I based on one of my studies in my PhD, the more prepared they are is on the part of the younger generation, between the generation Z. So they are more prepared than that. But part of that, I think the other areas or other generations, I think they need to adapt the technology. They need to learn. so that they will prosper. Because if they will not do that, they will be left behinded. Just like my advice to other colleagues, for example, faculty or professionals, they should learn things as part of the technological transformation. That's why part of our institution, for example, in the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, we have a continuous learning process using the webinar. So even it is a virtual platform, we can easily learn things, which is really important that we can use, for example, in our teaching or in the field of research. So these things really plays a vital role. For example, using this virtual platform right now, holding a conference. So it's really very important to be acquainted and to be literate enough to use, for example, a basic live streaming or opening an application using a Google platform. So it plays a vital role on that. That I think it's doable, and part of that, I think one of the best thing that we can do is to give, to motivate. Those are motivational strategies that I think it's really doable, because if they will not do this as part of their motivational factors, I think there's a problem on the part of the uh, students or faculty.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Also, we can discuss about the emotional well-being of the people. We can see that technology has almost overpowered the human mind, be it professionally or personally. We find people are mostly involved either by choice of profession or, with personal and social interaction. So their mental health and emotional well-being is also very, very much affected. So what is your take on it?
I think part of that, especially in this time of pandemic, especially in terms of mental health, I think part of the technology, it plays a vital role, because if we will just think about the problems regarding the pandemic situation, so I think that will not solve. But if you are make by making yourself busy, let's say for example, reading a literature or a review using the internet, I think it will help. Or by doing collaborative things using the technology, it plays a vital role. Because guys, on my part, during those 2 years, let's say 2020 and 2021 and up to now, technology on my part, it really helps me, because I already meet new friends, for example, in the area of research, in the area of the uh, human rights advocacy. So these things really help on my part. Okay, so that's why I think it's really very important that we need to adopt this part as a positive impact on our society, especially on us. Okay, so we need to think that we need to be dynamic. Okay, and I
Uh,
think yes.
sir, how do we, especially where our teenagers, where our students are concerned, the parents happen to be quite anxious because, say, by way of uh, home assignments, by way of project works, the children are found to be mostly occupied doing their work on their laptops, on their tablets, or through mobile phones. Now, how do we ensure proper monitoring? Because we know the media has the good and the bad sides attached to it. And the students are at a very delicate age of growth and development where their mental faculties need to be properly directed. So, your views will be very, very much needed. Your views will very much be needed about how to tackle this problem, wherein the children get a proper guidance and are duly monitored for the same.
I think on that part, the parents will be the best one to supervise them, and another is also the teachers that will help them. I think on that part, also the parents should be aware and should be oriented that they should guide their children, their sons regarding using those technology. And of course, also the teacher, they should also be the one, because me, teachers also plays a vital role as a second parent to our students. So I think what uh, I need to share as a piece of advice on the parents, of course, and also on the teacher is to give their role as a second parent by supervising them, telling them what will be the positive and negative impact using those technology. Because as I knew, if you monitor them, just like what I'm doing in my son, in my 20-year-old son, if I always ask my son is, how are you doing your online learning? How's your academic standing? uh, are you adjusting, or are you having problems? I always monitor that. Even I'm at work, I always text my son to monitor regarding the uh, progress. I think that's the time that the parents and the teachers should be the one to monitor them. I think they should supervise them, especially that will be the role of the parents. And of course, on the second part will be the teacher if they will be on their classroom session virtually. I think that would be a big help if those two collaborate.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Our children are also found that when they are in the classes, you know, the attendance is not a big deal. Why? Because they can switch on the camera
Yeah.
and, switch off the camera, and it's shown that they have logged in and they have joined. Whereas the teacher in a class of say 40 to 50 students is not able to monitor properly. So that way, I think monitoring for teachers. Do you have any suggestions for our teachers? How do they monitor the participation of the students in the class?
On my side, because I'm also teaching in the graduate school level using the virtual platform, and on the undergraduate level, I always ask them a surprise recitation. For example, I'm going to ask all of them, all my students, for example, in the graduate school level, I will ask all of them, for example, John, do you want to share your experience about that situation? So they will force to answer that, because if they will not listen on my discussions, they definitely they will be marked absent. So those are one of my strategies to have a student teacher interaction, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. I think our audience will be appreciating such an important and interesting topic in the present scenario, where we can see advancement of technology all around us. Long time back, we had never thought years back that there'll be a mobile that we'll be having. We hadn't thought that computers, mobile, laptops, and technology on the whole will hold center stage in our life. But that's what it is. The emerging technologies have really taken us with a power that cannot be denied. And now it has become so important that we cannot imagine a life without them. So, on this note, I would like to thank all our dear viewers who have been with us this evening and who will eventually be watching our show later on. That you'll definitely have some very interesting points to jot down and ponder. It's a thought provoking session. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Froilan for joining us all the way from Philippines, for having spared his precious time and took out time enough and was here with us on our live forum. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am,
Stay blessed,
for
all dear audience. Thank you, and looking forward to having you with us on another session very soon, sir. Thank you.